My son kept being bullied at his new school. After hearing him tell me the truth, I went to the home of the ringleader. What shocked me wasn't the father's defiant attitude, but his reaction when he saw my child's arm covered in burn scars. His face went pale and his voice stammered. I recognized those scars. That single sentence was enough to drag a long-buried secret from the past into the open. I still remember that afternoon vividly. The sky was clear, the sun was gentle, and the breeze rustled through the trees by the schoolyard, creating a sound that felt oddly soothing. I arrived earlier than usual, parking in my regular spot at the parent pickup zone. Everything was just as usual. The sound of children chattering, the occasional car horn, and a few mothers calling out to their kids while scrolling through their phones. I leaned against the car door, eyes fixed on the school gate. Leo was always the first to burst out, yelling, "Dad!" with one hand waving so hard his face would turn red. But that day, 5 minutes passed. Then 10, and still no sign of my son. A sense of unease began to creep in. I reached for my phone to call, but just then, my eyes caught a familiar figure tucked against the grass near the fence. It was Leo. He stood frozen, clutching the strap of his backpack, his Adidas hoodie caked in mud, and the backpack itself dripping wet like it had been dunked in water. I didn't waste a single second. I rushed over, heart pounding harder with every step, as if my body already knew something wasn't right. When I got to him, I knelt down, keeping my voice as soft as I could, so I wouldn't scare him. "Leo, what happened? Did someone push you?" "No, Dad, I just slipped." I looked down at his feet. The grass was dry, no puddles, nothing he could have slipped on. I gently took his small hand, turned his wrist slightly. The old burn scars were still there, but now they were red and irritated, like someone had been messing with them. New scrapes, still bleeding, were scattered in between. My chest tightened. This wasn't from slipping. No way. "You slipped and your hand ended up like this? Look at me, son. Tell me the truth. Was it Tyler and the other boys again?" The moment he heard that name, Leo's eyes immediately welled up with tears. His head dropped, his shoulders began to shake, and then, as if all the courage had drained out of him, he broke down sobbing. I had never seen my child cry like that before. It wasn't frustration or some passing sadness. It was fear. It was hurt. And something even deeper that no one could see. I pulled him into my arms, holding him tightly, as if loosening my grip even slightly would cause him to collapse right there. "I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't want to say anything. I was scared. I'm really scared." I gently patted his back, keeping my voice calm even though my heart was in turmoil. "It's okay. You don't have to hide it anymore. I'm here now. Whoever did this to you, I won't let it happen again." He kept crying, clutching my hand tightly. I let him take his time, not rushing him. A while later, his breathing began to steady. He looked up at me, eyes swollen and red, his voice still trembling but clearer than before. "If I tell, they'll hate me even more. They'll tell everyone not to talk to me. Alex will get dragged into it too. I don't want anyone to get hated because of me. I just want everything to stay quiet." I held his shoulders, looking straight into his eyes. Every word he said felt like a blade cutting deep into my chest. I used to think staying silent was a form of strength. But watching my own child choose to endure everything alone just to protect others made me realize he was fighting a quiet battle I never truly understood. Staying quiet isn't the same as being at peace. You don't have to protect anyone. Your job is to tell me. I'll handle the rest. Just trust me. Leo stayed silent for a few seconds, then nodded slowly. He sat down, leaning against me, his eyes still swollen from crying. I knew, at that moment, he was ready to tell me everything. And I was ready to listen to it all, word for word, the way a father is supposed to. He sat quietly in my arms for a while, then began to speak. His voice was hoarse, as if each word dragged a fresh cut across his memory. He said that during recess today, he stayed in the classroom to study for his science test. When everyone else had gone out, Tyler and two of his friends walked in. Nobody said anything. They just came straight to where he was sitting. Tyler snatched the notebook off his desk, held it up high, and shouted in a mocking voice. He said, "Hey, look, the monster arm can even write words." The whole group burst out laughing. My son sat there, his head down, unable to say anything. I forced my voice to stay steady, though my heart clenched tight. "And then what happened, son? Did you try to get your notebook back?" He nodded, eyes glistening, his hand clutching my shirt. He said he stood up and started to reach for it. But before he could touch it, one of the boys grabbed his backpack, laughed loudly, and ran out of the room. Tyler and the others followed, carrying his backpack to the playground. He ran after them, calling out, begging them to give it back. When he got close, he saw Tyler stomping on the backpack, his voice cold. He said, "A monster arm like yours is only good for touching trash." He stomped again. Then one of the girls in their group pointed at him and said clearly in the middle of the playground, "You're disgusting. You really are a repulsive creature." I took a deep breath and gave Leo's shoulder a gentle squeeze to let him know I was still there. I asked him, "Did they do anything else to you?" Leo nodded. He said that after that, one of the kids in the group pulled out a highlighter, grabbed his arm, and started coloring on it. They laughed while saying, "Just making it prettier? Maybe the monster arm won't make us want to puke anymore." At that moment, Alex ran over and tried to pull him away, but they shoved him to the ground. Alex fell hard on his back, his face pale from the pain. Leo said he froze, too scared to move. Just then, Miss Miller walked by. He told me his voice was shaking, that he was about to call out to her. But before he could say anything, she glanced over and said coldly, "Leo, what did you do this time to make the others react like this?" "I told you, you need to learn how to get along with your classmates." I felt my whole body freeze. I asked again, "Did she really say that?" Leo nodded, burying his face into me, his hands clinging tightly to my shirt like it was the only safe place left in the world. I couldn't say anything else. All I could do was hold him, shielding his small body, trying to protect his heart from being hurt any further. Inside, a wave of helplessness surged through me. I used to think school bullying was just harmless teasing, but hearing it from my own child, seeing those eyes, that trembling, I realized nothing is harmless when it leaves scars on a child. I took his hand and gently stood up. Without saying a word, I led him toward the car. Leo climbed into the back seat quietly, his face drained, eyes hollow. I stood outside, gripping the steering wheel with all my strength. The anger inside me wasn't just emotion anymore. It had become a clear and unshakable resolve. No one would ever be allowed to call my son a monster. No one had the right to insult the dignity of a child, especially not my child. The Tesla rolled slowly out of the school pickup zone. Its glowing red taillights reflected in the water-streaked pavement like silent trails of blood. The voices of those kids still echoed in my mind. Monster arm, disgusting. Let's color it so it looks less gross. Those words didn't just hurt my son's skin. They cut deep into the self-worth of a growing child. And they cut just as deep into the heart of a father. I swore to myself, I would not let this be the end. I arranged a meeting with Ms. Pamela Miller right after school the following day. Her office was tucked in the far corner of the second-floor hallway, with a large glass window overlooking the sports field. When I stepped inside, she was sipping on a Starbucks coffee, next to a sleek paper bag with the logo of an expensive tech brand. I recognized it immediately as one of the limited edition thank you gifts from the Johnson family. She looked up, gave a soft smile, and gestured for me to take a seat, her voice light as air. "Mr. Chen, I assume you're here to talk about Leo." I sat down, doing my best to keep my voice calm and composed. "I'm David, Leo's father. I'd like to have a serious and honest conversation with you about the bullying my son has been enduring at school for quite some time." She gently set her coffee down, still holding on to that polite smile, as if this was just another casual parent-teacher chat. "I've heard bits and pieces about it, but as you know, kids at that age tend to tease each other. Maybe Leo is just a little more sensitive than others, especially with those scars on his arms. It's understandable that he might take harmless teasing as something more hurtful." I clenched my fists slightly. Her response felt like someone had just squeezed the air from my chest. I looked her straight in the eye, and this time, my voice carried more weight. "You call that teasing? Do you even know what they call my son? They call him Monster Arm. They threw his backpack into a puddle, used highlighters to color on his skin, and said that a monster arm is only fit to hold garbage. You think that's harmless?" She leaned back slightly in her chair and let out a weary sigh, as if I was simply inconveniencing her. "Mr. Chen, I've been teaching for nearly 20 years. I understand students better than anyone. Sometimes kids cross the line with their words, but that doesn't mean they're malicious. And as for you, instead of blowing this out of proportion, maybe you should be teaching Leo how to toughen up a little, how to fit in. Out in the real world, no one adjusts themselves to every single person's feelings." I leaned forward, placed both hands on the table, and kept my voice steady, not loud, but clear with every word. "I don't need anyone to bend over backward for my son. All I need is for him to go to school in a safe environment where no one has the right to humiliate him or trample on the dignity of a child. Yesterday, when everything happened, you walked past and said to him, 'Word for word, Leo, what did you do this time to make the other kids react like that?' Don't you think that very sentence was the final blow to his self-worth?" Her face flushed slightly. She quickly looked down and adjusted the strap of the gift bag beside her, as if searching for an excuse to avoid my gaze. "I don't remember saying that exactly. Maybe you misheard. But you also need to understand our position. This school has many relationships to maintain. The Johnson family is a major donor. They've funded our computer lab, our sports programs. I can't blow things out of proportion over a few childish words and jeopardize the whole school community." I went quiet for a second. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Disappointment surged through me like a dam breaking. I couldn't stay calm anymore. I stood up straight, looking at her, and my gaze now wasn't angry, it was full of pain. "So what you're saying is that my son should accept being treated like trash, just because the bully's family has more money? That what you're teaching isn't fairness, but how to bow to power? That you're teaching a child that silence is survival? I see now." She stood up too, her face turning cold like a wall. She pointed toward the door, her voice sharp and rigid. "I think you're being overly emotional. We should end this conversation here. When you're ready to speak in a more cooperative tone, I'll be happy to continue." I didn't walk out right away. I looked at her one more time, and my voice dropped lower, calm but firm, like closing a chapter. "So this is what cooperation means at this school, turning a blind eye to injustice. Thank you for making that clear." I held her gaze for a long moment, then spoke again, each word quiet but unmistakably clear. "Did you even hear what you just said? Because the Johnsons are wealthy, because they give gifts to the school, because they fund sports programs, my son has to stay silent when he's called a monster. He has to swallow his pride. He has to be treated like trash. He gets humiliated in front of adults, and no one steps in to defend him. Ms. Miller stood still for a second. Then she pushed her chair back and straightened up, her voice no longer gentle. Mr. Chen, I will not allow you to speak to me in that tone. You are being far too emotional. I have every right to ask you to leave this office immediately. This is a school, not a place for you to come and tell me how to do my job. I didn't move. I stood my ground, eyes locked on hers. It wasn't to intimidate her. It was to leave her no room to dodge the truth. I asked her again, this time leaving no space for her to slip away. You're the one standing in front of a classroom. You teach children how to behave, how to live, how to be human. So what lesson did you teach my son yesterday? That when he's humiliated, he should stay silent. That if the bully's parents are rich, no one will say a word. That if he wants to be left alone, he should bow his head in the face of injustice. Is that the kind of morality you teach kids? She tightened her grip on the bag strap. Her eyes no longer avoided mine. They had turned cold and sharp. You're exaggerating everything. I am not obligated to respond to accusations like that. This conversation ends here. I don't wish to continue. If you remain here another minute, I'll report this to the administration. I took a step toward the door. I had nothing more to say, but before I reached for the handle, I turned back one last time. I said just one sentence. Turns out, what I need to teach my son isn't how to stand up to bullies, but how to recognize that sometimes the ones called adults are the very people who help the powerful crush the weak. Thank you for that lesson. I opened the door and stepped out of that office with a strange feeling. It wasn't relief. It wasn't even anger anymore. It was a kind of silent collapse, a quiet, aching realization. I used to believe teachers were fair, that they were the ones kids could lean on when they were hurt. But I was wrong. What my son learned today was that the right side doesn't always have an adult standing behind it. That night, after Leo had taken a warm shower, I dressed him in a new set of pajamas with little pandas printed on them, his favorite. The house was quiet. I turned off all the main lights, leaving only the soft glow of the table lamp next to the sofa. I sat down, pulled him into my arms, and draped a soft blanket over his legs. Leo didn't say a word. He just rested his head against my chest, letting out a soft hiccup every now and then. I gently ran my hand through his hair, keeping my voice as warm as I could. Leo, my love, why didn't you tell me about all of this sooner? Were you planning to keep going through it alone? He wrapped his arms tightly around my waist, his voice barely more than a whisper. I was really scared, Dad. Tyler said if I told you or Ms. Miller, he'd tell the whole class I was a snitch. No one would play with me anymore. They'd all turn against me. Even Alex would get picked on because of me. I held him tighter, feeling his small body trembling against mine. Was that the only reason? Or is there something else that made you so scared you couldn't talk to me? Leo looked up at me, tears streaming down his cheeks. His voice cracked, but this time, something inside him finally broke free. I don't want to talk about the fire at Lake Tahoe camp anymore. I'm scared of remembering it. I froze. My heart skipped a beat. That fire happened nearly a year ago. I thought I already knew everything there was to know, but the look in Leo's eyes told me I had been wrong. So wrong. What do you mean? You mentioned the fire. Is there something that happened there that I don't know about? Leo buried his face into my shoulder, his voice trembling with every word. I remember the burning smell. I remember the heat hitting my face. I remember people screaming, and I remember Tyler's face when he was trapped inside the tent. His face was terrified, his mouth twisted from crying. Dad, he was there too. He was the one I pulled out of that fire. I heard every word. Each one landed like a blow to my chest. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Tyler. You mean Tyler? Are you saying that the boy who bullies you now is the one you saved from that fire? Leo nodded. He didn't look at me anymore. His eyes were fixed on his hands resting on his knees. I saw him screaming for help. I broke the window of the tent and pulled him out. A wooden beam hit my arm while I was pushing him forward. It hurt so much. I passed out afterward. But before I did, Tyler grabbed my hand and said, "Please don't tell anyone I was in there. My parents will be mad. Please." I sat there stunned. I had always believed those scars were from an accident while Leo was escaping the fire. But now I knew the truth wasn't that simple. He didn't just get out. He saved someone. He saved the very person who now turns his back on him, who torments him at school every day. You kept that promise all this time? Even when he bullied you, even when he made you a joke, even when he mocked your scars, the very ones you got while saving him? Leo didn't answer. He just bowed his head, his shoulders trembling. I knew he was crying, but I also knew those weren't the tears of weakness. They were the tears of a child who had kept a promise that seemed small, but carried with it loyalty, compassion, and deep, quiet pain. I pulled my son closer, feeling as though I myself was trembling. I looked deep into Leo's eyes and asked, my voice soft but firm this time, "Tell me the truth, the fire at Lake Tahoe camp. What did Tyler have to do with you in that fire? Don't hide it anymore. I promise I'll listen to the very end." Leo looked at me, his eyes wet, then lowered his head as if trying to find a place to hide. His small hand lifted, trembling, his voice breaking with sobs. "Tyler was there too, Dad. That day he snuck into the restricted storage area, and then the fire broke out. He got trapped in the tent. I heard him calling for help, so I ran in. I broke the window, pulled him out. While pushing him away, a beam fell and hit my arm. It hurt so much, but I kept trying to get him out. I passed out right after. Before I did, Tyler grabbed my hand and begged me not to tell anyone. He said his parents would be furious and punish him. He was terrified, I promised him. I heard each word like thunder cracking in a clear sky. My hand froze on his shoulder, my eyes fixed on his small face turned downward. "You're telling me you saved him, risked your life to save him, and you never once told me? You never told anyone?" Leo gave a slight nod, his voice small, like a confession. "I didn't want Tyler to get in trouble. I thought he would change. I thought when we met again at school, he would be happy and thank me. But he didn't. On the first day, he pointed at my arm and mocked me. He told everyone my arm was diseased, that it could spread to others. He told them not to play with me. I stayed silent because of my promise. I didn't want to break it, even though I was so scared. I felt my chest tighten as if something had gripped my heart. I tried to stay calm, but the question slipped out before I could stop it. "So the person you saved ended up being the one who hurt you this much. The one who used the very scars you got because of him to mock you. The one who turned you into a joke, and you endured all of that just to keep a promise to him?" Leo buried his face into my chest, his breath catching as he spoke. I didn't know what to do. I thought I was doing the right thing, but now I feel like I've become the one who's wrong. I didn't want anyone to find out. I was afraid everything would just get worse. I held him tightly. I wasn't angry in a loud, explosive way anymore. My anger now felt thick and heavy, like stone. I looked out the living room window, where the streetlight cast a long shadow of the two of us across the carpet. I knew, in that moment, that whatever conversation I had with Ms. Miller no longer mattered. What I needed to do next was suddenly crystal clear. I wasn't going to complain. I was going to reclaim dignity, truth, and justice for my son. That resolve settled into my mind as sharply as the cold light outside. I would not let this truth stay buried any longer. I held Leo's hand as we walked firmly along the stone path leading to the front door of the grand mansion in Pacific Heights. When the doorbell rang, I had already braced myself for coldness. But I didn't expect him to open with exactly the kind of tone I despised most. Mr. Johnson stood with his arms crossed, his voice laced with both mockery and authority. "You've come again? I thought Ms. Miller had already resolved everything. How long do you plan on bothering my family?" I kept my voice calm, but every word came out cold and precise. "The issue hasn't been resolved, sir. In fact, it's far more serious than I thought. Your son isn't just a bully. He's an ungrateful child who's forgotten who saved him." He let out a scoff, throwing me a condescending look before tilting his head with disdain. "Ungrateful? What are you even talking about? Those kids barely know each other. What kind of debt are you imagining here? I think you should have your son evaluated. It sounds like he's making up all sorts of nonsense and blaming my kid." I could feel my blood starting to boil, but I stood my ground. My voice dropped, but it came out more firmly than before. "Nonsense, you say? Do you even know what they've done to my son? They call him Monster Arm, threw his backpack into the mud, and told him he's only fit to touch dirty things." He cut me off, not bothering to hear the rest. His tone sharpened, filled with authority. "I don't need to know. Kids roughhousing is normal. Maybe you should teach your son not to be so weak. Crying and tattling over a few jokes? Instead of coming here to lecture people, you should teach him how to stand up for himself." I took one deliberate step forward, my eyes locked on him without a blink. My voice no longer held back. It carried the weight of a truth that was about to be revealed. "Stand up for himself? Fine. Let me tell you a story your son has kept hidden for the past year. Leo and Tyler didn't just meet a few months ago. They've known each other since the fire at Lake Tahoe summer camp." I turned slightly, gently tugged at the cuff of Leo's sleeve, and lifted his arm. The long, red, wrinkled scars came into view under the afternoon light. I held my son's arm out toward Mr. Johnson. "Look closely. Really look. Do these scars mean anything to your son?" Mr. Johnson's face, red from anger just moments ago, turned pale. His eyes locked onto the scars, as if he had just seen a ghost. Then his gaze drifted toward the door behind him, where Tyler stood half hidden, only part of his face visible. The boy was trembling. His face had gone completely white. That was the moment I knew the fuse had reached the core of the problem. And he, the man who once stood so confidently behind his wealth and status, had started to waver. Not because of me, but because the truth had finally cornered him. At first, Mr. Johnson kept glaring at me, but I saw the shift in his eyes. His voice dropped, stripped of its arrogance, sounding like a man trapped in a nightmare. He turned around and called out loudly, "Tyler, come out here right now. I want to hear the truth. You told me a firefighter pulled you out through the window, didn't you? Answer me honestly. I'm asking one last time. Is that true? Do you recognize this arm? The arm of your friend? The one you made a promise to during the fire? Answer me." Tyler stepped out from behind the door, both hands clutching the hem of his shirt, eyes fixed on the tiled floor. His voice trembled like someone standing at the edge of a cliff. I'm sorry, Dad. I lied. There was no firefighter, it was Leo. He was the one who used a wooden beam to break the window and pull me out. But a support beam fell on his arm while he was pushing me forward. He screamed in pain. I was so scared. I ran away. I was afraid everyone would blame me for sneaking into the forbidden storage room. I was afraid you and Mom would be angry. I didn't dare tell the truth. I promised Leo I'd keep it quiet. I heard every word, every syllable slicing into me like a knife. I looked over at Leo. He was still sitting silently, not a single tear on his face, his deep black eyes cast down to the floor. That silence told me everything, how much he had endured to keep a promise to someone who never deserved it. I took a deep breath, rested my hand on his shoulder, a gesture that was part comfort, part apology. Mr. Johnson took a step back, and in that moment, it was as if he had aged 10 years. His voice caught in his throat, his hands trembling as he raised them to his mouth, then slowly lowered them, eyes fixed on Leo. Oh my God, I didn't know. I truly didn't know. You saved my son's life. You kept your promise all this time. And yet it was my son who used those scars to mock you. I'm sorry. I failed to teach him right. I bow my head to you. He said it and bent down, bowing deeply before Leo, his voice breaking into fragments. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry for everything. I let you endure it all alone when you were the one who saved our family. I am ashamed. I am in pain. Please forgive me. The silence in the room shattered like glass. I was still standing there, my hand gripping my son's shoulder. There was nothing more that needed to be said. The truth had come out, and in my heart, I felt both heavy and strangely light. This wasn't a victory. This was a moment that should never have had to happen. But it had. And now, all of us had to learn how to face it. That morning, I brought Leo to school very early. When we stepped into the principal's office, Mr. Johnson and Tyler were already seated. The air in the small room was so still that I could hear the ticking of the wall clock. Principal Williams sat across from us, and Ms. Miller stood slightly off to the side, still holding a coffee cup she hadn't touched. Mr. Johnson was the first to rise. His voice rang out clearly and firmly, like a command. Madam Principal, I am requesting a public apology to be delivered at the morning assembly today. My son, Tyler, will stand before the entire school and recount the full truth about the fire at summer camp last year and the cruel bullying he inflicted on Leo. Ms. Miller immediately set her coffee down, her face pale as she rushed to speak. We can't do that, Mr. Johnson. It'll affect Tyler's mental state and the school's reputation too. We can handle this internally. There's no need to make a public scene. I noticed Principal Williams tilt her head slightly, as if weighing the situation. But Mr. Johnson didn't give her the chance. He turned sharply toward Ms. Miller, his voice lowering, but laced with unmistakable coldness. Ms. Miller, it is your flattery and irresponsibility that are truly damaging this school's reputation. You knew my son was wrong. You knew the truth, but you chose to protect him, even blamed the victim. If you try to obstruct this public apology in any way, I will immediately withdraw my family's financial support from this institution. Furthermore, I will submit a formal request to the school board to investigate your professional ethics. The entire room fell silent. Ms. Miller stepped back, her mouth slightly open as if she wanted to say something, but then she lowered her head and said nothing. Only then did Principal Williams speak. Her voice was low and clear, each word sharp and commanding. Mr. Johnson is absolutely right. Covering up wrongdoing is even more dangerous than the wrongdoing itself. We will hold the assembly this morning. And Ms. Miller, I am suspending you from all teaching and homeroom duties effective immediately. Today, You are required to submit a full written report, detailed and truthful, reviewing your actions." Ms. Miller looked up, her eyes red with tears, but she didn't dare object. I glanced over at Leo. He didn't say a word, only squeezed my hand tighter. His face no longer showed fear like before, and in that moment, I knew a part of the weight that had been pressing down on his shoulders was finally lifted. The schoolyard that morning didn't feel like it usually did. The flag hadn't been raised, the loudspeakers remained silent, and hundreds of students stood in neat lines, but no one spoke loudly. The air felt frozen, and every eye was fixed on the podium set up in the middle of the yard. Tyler stepped up. His face was pale, both hands gripping the sheet of paper with his written confession. I saw him take a long breath, then lift his head to look out over the schoolyard. "Teachers, classmates, my name is Tyler Johnson. I'm standing here today to tell the truth. 1 year ago, during the fire at Lake Tahoe summer camp, it was Leo Chen who broke the window and pulled me out of a burning tent." He paused briefly, then continued, his voice still shaky but steadier. "At the time, I panicked. I ran away. I didn't look back. I didn't help him. Afterward, I lied to everyone and said I was rescued by a firefighter." I saw Leo standing beside me, his hands clasped together, head slightly bowed. But his eyes, when looking at Tyler, no longer held anger. I turned around and mocked the very person who saved me. I called him Monster Arm. I made jokes about the scars he carries because of what he did for me. I bullied him, isolated him, made him afraid to come to school every day. I was a coward. I was ungrateful and shameful. Tyler bowed deeply. A choked sob escaped through the microphone. "I'm sorry, Leo. I'm sorry for everything." Mr. Johnson stepped forward and placed a hand on his son's shoulder. He lifted his gaze toward the schoolyard, his voice slow, yet unmistakably clear. "My name is Richard Johnson. On behalf of my family, I want to offer my deepest apology to Leo, to his family, and to this school. I have failed in my duty as a father. I did not teach my son gratitude. I did not teach him how to face the truth." He paused for a moment and looked toward me. "My family will take responsibility for all the harm Leo has endured. And I also apologize to the school for believing that everything could be overlooked simply because of reputation." Principal Williams stepped up to the microphone. Her expression was firm but not harsh. "This is a powerful lesson for all of us. Not everyone has the courage to speak the truth, and even fewer can admit their mistakes in front of a crowd. Starting today, the school will implement a stricter anti-bullying policy. And Ms. Miller, I am placing you on administrative leave from all homeroom responsibilities while you prepare a written report of accountability." I glanced toward the teacher's row. Ms. Miller stood there, her face flushed red, eyes fixed on the ground. She said nothing. I didn't see a single tear, but I knew that silence weighed heavier than any protest. The schoolyard remained quiet. A few students craned their necks to look at Leo. Then came a round of applause. At first scattered, but then it spread across the entire yard. There were no more side glances, no more whispered gossip. In that applause, I could feel a genuine respect. Alex, the girl who once tried to stop Tyler, suddenly ran up to the podium. She reached for Leo's hand and pulled him into a hug. "Leo, you're really brave. I know you're not strange or weird. I know you're kind. My friends and I will always stand with you. You deserve respect, not fear." I stood in the crowd. I didn't step forward. I didn't interrupt. I just looked at my son. Leo lifted his head. For the first time since everything began, he smiled. It was small, but enough to make my heart ache. I used to wonder if justice was real, or just an ideal printed on paper. Today, I got my answer. The truth was finally spoken. And more importantly, it was heard. This wasn't anyone's victory. It was a release for everyone involved. But for me, it was closure. A closure filled with tears and gratitude. A few months after everything had happened, on a calm weekend afternoon, I found myself once again sitting in the backyard of Mr. Johnson's house. A gentle breeze passed through, and the soft golden light of the sun spread across the lawn, where the kids were chasing each other with a football in hand. Leo burst out laughing as he dodged Tyler's diving tackle. Watching him at that moment, I felt the weight in my chest ease more than it had in a long time. Mr. Johnson sat beside me, quietly lifting his cup of coffee to his lips, his gaze fixed on the grassy field. His voice dropped slightly. "Thank you, David. To be honest, if it weren't for your firmness back then, I probably still wouldn't realize just how badly I had failed in raising my son." I didn't look at him. I just nodded slightly and took a sip of my now lukewarm coffee. I don't think it was because I was strong. I just didn't want my son to live with a pain he should never have had to carry. But looking back now, I do believe that everything happens for a reason. Maybe this was how not only the kids, but also people like us, were meant to learn what we needed to learn. Mr. Johnson let out a long breath. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a thick envelope, placing it on the wooden table between us. "I've been meaning to give you this for a while. It's enough for you to take Leo to the best doctor. Cosmetic surgery has come a long way. Those scars, if he wants, they could be faded or even completely erased." I looked at the envelope for a moment, not out of curiosity or hesitation, but because I had thought about that before. Then I reached out and slid it back toward him. "Thank you. But Leo and I have talked it through. He doesn't want it." Mr. Johnson raised an eyebrow slightly. His voice dropped just a bit. "He doesn't want it? You mean he plans to keep the scars? I just assumed." I set my coffee cup down and tilted my head to watch my son tossing the ball to Tyler. He once told me, "Dad, no one calls me Monster Arm anymore. Some of the kids even said my scars look cool, like the superheroes in Marvel movies." I don't feel ashamed now. They remind me that I did something right, and if someone asks me about them in the future, I'll tell them. I won't hide it. I paused for a moment, then continued. "That's why I think we should let the scars stay. They're no longer a burden. They're part of his journey growing up. Something I believe he should be proud of, not ashamed of." Mr. Johnson sat quietly. His eyes were still following Tyler, but somehow it felt like his gaze had gone beyond just looking at his own son. Slowly, he nodded. "I see. Sometimes the very things we think are flaws turn out to be what make us stronger. Thank you, and thank Leo. Truly, watching the kids now, I feel like I can finally breathe easier." I didn't say anything. I just smiled softly. Some words of gratitude don't need a reply. They only need to be understood at the right moment. And that day, as I watched Leo swing his arm to pass the ball, laughing with all his heart, I knew my son was finally living as who he truly was. Not a pitiful child with scars, but a proud one, brave enough to face the darkness and walk through it. The kids kept running across the front lawn. Mr. Johnson and I sat quietly under the porch, watching like spectators, yet feeling something warm rise steadily in our chests. Tyler turned back and shouted to Leo with a familiar, cheerful voice. "Leo, pass it to me. They're catching up." Leo sprang forward and caught the ball neatly in his hands. He pushed up his sleeve to wipe the sweat from his face, unintentionally revealing the old scars still etched into his skin. But this time, Leo didn't hide his arm. He smiled and threw a strong pass toward Tyler. His face looked lighter than ever, free and full of life. Another kid on the team ran past, panting and calling out loud. "Hey, Leo, you're so fast! Your arm's like a superhero's or something. Seriously strong." Leo grinned wide and raised his fist in the air. "Thanks. Let's go. We're about to win." I wasn't sure what made my heart swell more in that moment. The sound of my son laughing, the way he held his head high, or the fact that the other kids no longer looked at him with pity or caution. Mr. Johnson leaned slightly toward me, eyes still fixed on the field. "You see that? They look at Leo like he's a leader now. No one sees that arm and makes judgments anymore. They see it and admire him." I nodded slowly, because Leo chose to keep those scars as a reminder of what he had faced and what he had overcome. And now, they weren't marks of pain anymore, they were medals of courage. Up ahead, laughter continued to echo. Tyler ran over and threw his arm around Leo's shoulders after a perfect pass. The whole team clapped and cheered. I watched the two boys standing side by side, shirts soaked in sweat, their eyes sparkling with joy. I turned to look at Mr. Johnson. In that moment, I understood. It didn't end with revenge. It ended with my son finally getting to be what he always deserved to be. A happy, ordinary kid who felt proud of who he was. I took a deep breath, letting the late afternoon breeze carry away all the anger that had once burned in my chest. Justice had arrived, but not in the form of punishment. It came in these moments of laughter, in the way a scar could now be called strength, and in the unspoken handshake between two children who had once been savior and bully, now truly friends. I didn't need anything more. There are scars that can never be erased, but that doesn't mean they should be hidden. The scars on my son's arm were once the reason he was bullied, mocked, and hurt. Yet over time, those same scars became proof of his courage, a silent act of heroism that asked for nothing in return. Sometimes, the cruelest things don't come from children, but from the indifference, silence, or favoritism of adults. But justice is not only found through punishment. It comes when the truth is spoken, when the wrong admit their faults, and when those who were hurt finally raise their heads and walk forward with pride. If you've ever been a parent or simply someone who once stayed silent in the face of injustice, remember this. You may not be able to change the past, but you can always choose what's right in the present. If this story resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button to support the creator, and subscribe to Revenge Diary so you don't miss what's next. Because truth, once spoken, has the power to change everything.